How wonderful. So we'd like to welcome everybody to 1 Million Cups today. Who is here for the first time? Very nice. We are so happy to see you guys. We'd ask that you continue to come and bring friends, spread the word. This is not our normal place. We are normally across in the Bush building, and some of you may have gone over there and realized, oh, we're over here. We did announce it last week, but sometimes, people forget. So we are glad that you found our location. Just know that this is a temporary spot. Next week we're back over there in Bush. You're welcome to bring your coffee in, and our coffee is provided by Barney's. And we don't have our sponsor list up here yet, but it will be at the break. And we want to thank Rollins also for the space, Rollins Center for Advanced Entrepreneurship. Thank you for that, and that's Josh back there as the assistant director. So we are happy to have him here today. We also want to acknowledge all of our volunteers that are here. So Chad is in the back, so raise your hand, Chad. Thank you. And Randall with Torch Studios, yep, and he is live streaming. So we are live streaming in Canvas. We should be live streaming in Catalyst hopefully next week, I guess. And then we will be potentially live streaming at all of the Valencia campuses very soon, by the end of this year. So that's exciting news. We have, if you don't know what happens at 1 Million Cups, it is a 6-minute pitch and then 20 minutes of Q&A for the people that are new here today. And so we have presenters, and it's Songrize, and we have Alex and Nick that will be coming up to share the business model with you. When you have a mic, when we go into the Q&A, we need you to make sure that you hold your question until you have the microphone, because that makes it so that Randall can actually, we can hear the mic, the questions, during the live stream, and it plays better for the videos. So please hold your question until you have a mic. Raise your hand when you have a question. And then also, for the guys, make sure, since there's 2 of you up here, that you're sharing the mic. Okay. So I'd like to welcome Nick and Alex from Songrize.
All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. So we have a really exciting concept here. This is literally our first time presenting in a live event, so this is kind of unveiling of what Songrize is, so it should be very exciting for all of us here. Since we have a lot of material to go through, I'll just quickly introduce both of us. I'm Alex Kepsel, electrical engineer and MBA from Rollins, actually, so it's good to be back home. More importantly, I founded this company out of my passion and love for music. I'm pretty much listening to music 6 to 8 hours a day, constantly wearing headphones, so maybe some of you can relate to that. Nick is a good friend of mine and our chief marketing officer. He received his master's in marketing last year from Full Sail University, where he is also currently working. And finally, if you'd like to shout out to Songrize today, that's our Twitter handle, so please do, feel free. So the main event here, Songrize, you're probably curious what it is. It's in the music industry, but the real question is why? Why is this important? Why do you care what Songrize is? Well, think about, what the revolution that's been taking place over the past decade with the smartphone, and now think about the accompanying music revolution that's taking place with that. We now have music at our fingertips, thousands of songs from all over the world, and we can't even keep up with it. Even I can't keep up with it with listening to 6 hours a day. It's difficult to do. So the real problem is that current music services make users work for new music, and the recommendations are poor. And a lot of times I'll find a great song and send it to someone, and they're like, wow, where did you find this? I would love this if I knew where to go and how to find it. So the solution then that Songrize solves or presents is it does the work for music fans and makes new discoveries their own, hence the personalizing music discovery hashtag. So let's take a look at the current landscape, because I'm going to show exactly where the gap is in the marketplace and why Songrize can be a very favorable solution for this. So Spotify, Pandora, and SoundCloud are the big 3. SoundCloud is probably the closest to music discovery. Let's look at a competitive matrix here, and you can see the number of users currently in the marketplace for each one of these services. So walking down the list, all 3 of them stream music. That's kind of a given, but it's important nonetheless. The next thing is auto playlist generation. Pandora prides itself on its ability to take the legwork out of you when you want to listen to music. Unfortunately, they fall short in that they don't let you browse. You're kind of tied to that channel, tied to that station, whereas these other services let you browse around and skip between songs if you want to. Direct peer-to-peer recommendations, like I said, there's a significant proportion of the population out there that wants to recommend songs to each other, and not all these services let you do that within the app. You have to text it or do a YouTube screenshot or something and send it, email it to each other. Spotify's the only one that does that. Finally, including new rising artists. There's a lot of artists out there, again, smaller artists that are less known. SoundCloud's the only one that does that. The other two services cater to mainstream artists. You probably see that. It gets repetitive and artists that you've already heard of. And finally, personalized recommendations. I feel that a lot of times when I get recommendations through these apps, they're very high level. It fits in the same genre, but it doesn't really get down to what I call the Achilles heel of my music taste. So watch this. Let's look at Songrize now. Songrize is going to do all 6 of those. And rather than tell you that, we'd actually like to show you that. And it's simple social curated music discovery. So walking you through maybe a user case where you might be able to relate to, let's say you're at work or you're at school, maybe we have some students here, when all of a sudden, in this case, Nick does this all the time. We do this all the time to each other. Nick sent you a new jam, hashtag CM Smith, hashtag upbeat. You slide it open, you're curious, the app's loading. Song starts playing. I can't talk over the music, but that is a great song if you want to go back and listen to it later. So what's nice is that song you can't find on Spotify or these mainstream apps. You might be able to find it on SoundCloud, but you love the song and you want more of that. So this suggested music feed now starts to recommend songs from both your friends and from the recommendation algorithm that I've developed. In addition to that, you can see the notification bubble in the bottom, so it's kind of like Instagram. If you get someone tagging you in a song, it'll show up there. And then if you like a song, you can actually swipe right, and it generates a playlist based on that song that you just swiped, just like Pandora does. And now it includes the lesser-known artists that you couldn't find on other apps. And then what's also cool is each song you find, you can hashtag. That's where the hashtag came from. So you could see in that example, it's upbeat. That's what I like. I like happy, upbeat music. So you can hashtag things in anything you want. Running. Let's say you want to make a running playlist. You hashtag it running, and now next time when you go on a jog, you just build that playlist. You don't have to think about it. As you use the app, it gets to know you, and it actually orders the hashtags specifically for you to make your browsing, experience more enjoyable. So all in all, Songrize is your personal music friend. It's easygoing, it knows what you want, and it's there for you if you want new music. That's it. The differentiators are the recommendations are better. It includes smaller artists, as we've talked about. It also hones in on what specifically you want. It's a genuine social interaction. No more asking you to post things to Facebook because no one does that, in my opinion. Songs are better than channels. Again, that's the Pandora problem. And it's got this whole hashtag fresh discovery method that makes it easier to build playlists, and it's kind of fun to do that. So the business model, hopefully everyone's as excited as I am about this. If you're interested in how it's going to make money, the music industry is obviously a very massive market. Our target market is the millennials who are constantly plugged in, using their phone, looking for the next best song. It's age 15 to 30, whether you're in college and looking for a great playlist for your party or whatever, that's who we're going to be targeting. And that's the iPhone only. We didn't mention we're going to launch on the iPhone first, so we project about 12 million users for the service. The revenue channels, there's 4. The first one's pretty easy. The subscription, moving people to a subscription-based service lets you remove ads. You can also save songs to your phone. We're going to put the price point right on par with Pandora because we don't really think this is going to replace a Spotify. It's more supplemental. The next 3, live show advertisements. There's a lot of times I want to go to a show, but I don't really know I don't keep track of what artists are coming to my city, and I don't know who of my friends want to go to that also. So this kind of helps, the data helps connect users, your friends, to go to live shows. Investing in rising artists, that's kind of a lengthy one to explain, so we'll save that for the Q&A. And then selling hashtags, you can imagine it's like a web domain. Let's say you're at a wedding and you have a playlist for your wedding. Maybe you want to privatize that so you can buy that domain so that no one else can upload and use that hashtag. The big return here, though, is think about all the players in the music industry that might want this algorithm, might want the brand and the experience associated with it. The big one that we feel could buy this is Google, who actually owns YouTube, as most of you know. They just launched YouTube Red last week, so we feel like they're a prime suitor for this. And as a point of reference, Google bought Songza last year for $30 million for that exact reason, for the recommendation algorithm. Songza actually only had 5 million users at the time when they were purchased. So we are currently looking to accelerate our tech development phase and then launch the product and market it. We're seeking $175K for that reason. And looking back on the summary of this, as you can see, the music industry is evolving now. We're in the middle of this whole revolution, and music discovery is currently a failed effort. So we hope that one day we can create something special for you so that it takes the guesswork out of this whole music discovery process, and it can fill that gap and be the easiest outlet for personalized music discovery. And that's it. We'd like to open it up to questions and your feedback at this time.
Questions, anybody?
Okay, there's one on that side. I'll go grab it.
Hi, great presentation. I got two questions actually. The first one, your algorithm, is that something that you guys like have trademarked or patented or copyrighted?
Yes, so that's a popular question. We have not patented yet for the sake we don't have the capital to do that right now, but I have developed it and we've consulted with attorneys on that matter and they think it can be patented and it's just a matter of getting the capital to go do that. And then what was your second question?
Then you're seeking $175,000, which, and I don't mean to be rude at all, that doesn't seem like a lot of money.
Right.
And I'm just curious, out of all the presentations I've seen, this is probably like the quickest thing to take to market for the cheapest amount of money. And I'm just curious of what you guys are going to use with the $175,000. And does that just get you to where you want to be, or does that actually launch you and push you into being with the competitors like Spotify
No,
and
it
Pandora?
does not. So it
Okay.
launches us, and then we're hoping that we'll operate for a year and get up to 1 million users, and then, yes, Series A would come along at that time. I'm sure Nick would want more marketing dollars. If I could bump that up, he would enjoy that. But this is the split based on that 175K, how that would be spent.
For the 175K, what's the equity?
We'd enjoy meeting with you offline about that, if you'd be interested.
Okay.
Was everybody really clear about how the app worked? Was there any questions on that? Because I know when they played the music selection, that was a really nice way of being able to see how you can utilize the app and its full functionality.
Yeah, I think the hashtag idea kind of confused some people occasionally. I don't know, did everyone understand that?
Go ahead.
I was actually curious on how the selling the hashtags work. This is the first time I've actually heard of that.
Yeah, it's kind of a unique. Again, I got the idea from a web domain and thinking, I don't know, at a wedding or on Valentine's Day, you make a playlist for your girlfriend or whatever. I don't know if people do that anymore, but you can then buy it just through the app or through the website and privatize that for yourself. So.
Alex, you mentioned investing in a new artist. I was very curious about your relationship and that type of involvement.
Yeah, so I find a lot of artists a lot of time, like that example I gave, that remix artist that showed up there, he only has 500 followers on SoundCloud and he doesn't even have a Facebook page. There's actually someone in the room right now who works for, he's probably going to kill me later for describing it the wrong way, but I think of them as like an incubator for artists, like they help develop their small label of sorts. So we have a good relationship with them. We'd love to partner with them, find these artists, and then help these people who are trying to break into the music industry but don't really know anything about marketing, business, what types of things the relationships there. So we would kind of partner with them, help them develop those artists, and now as they start to climb up the ranks, maybe we find, some gem, the next Calvin Harris or the next Taylor Swift or whatever. Now we start to get some money back as we also promote them within the app, which is very obviously natural, organic place to promote them. It's a music app. We can include them as featured artists of the week, that type of thing. It's always going to go back to the data, though. And the app's going to never push something on you. For example, I'm going to want something recommended to me that really fits me. So that's how we're going to use the server's really going to push out these rising artists to people that it's appropriate for. So, and then hopefully, they climb up and start to become successful, and we get a piece of that. So,
I'd like to go back to your algorithm. In consulting with an attorney, are you sure that your algorithm doesn't infringe on existing patents or intellectual property in the space?
So I've actually looked at that myself. I've looked into Pandora's algorithm. I read their whole, patent, and there's also another one, some individual, I don't know why he uses it, but I found it on Google Patents, and I've looked through both of those, and ours is actually very different from that. So the next step, I guess, would be during the patent process to use an attorney or consult with an attorney on that.
Assuming that you got your 175,000 and got your patent rolling along, can your marketing expert tell me how the marketing goes?
All right, I'll introduce Nick. This is good.
All right, so for marketing, what we want to do is we really want to
push word of mouth to begin with, since we're going to be starting with a smaller budget. Am I talking loud enough on this? Since we're going to be starting with a smaller marketing budget, we want to push word of mouth by doing a lot of online work through both paid and organic strategies. This way we can kind of control our budget, see how it's being used, get feedback on how it's being used. And we also plan to do a few branding events, but not so many offline, just because we want to be able to get as much feedback as we can and everything before we move on and spending our marketing dollars.
So there might be some people in a different age category, 30 and over, that would be interested in something like this. Would you need to make any adjustments? Or are you test marketing on that younger group and then making it so easy that the next group up that still enjoys music could use it?
Right, yeah. So, I mean, we really want to try to hit our early adapters first, and then what we're hoping is, well, by pushing word of mouth, that the early adapters then share that with the people who aren't necessarily always digging through blogs or looking for new music or doing it. They're kind of the recipients of the person finding the new music. So we're hoping that that comes later, more with the second rounding, and when we can do more of the big branding events or more pushes in branding efforts. But the hope is to push word of mouth through the early adapters and then have them share it organically and also be there when they start looking for it.
Well, first, I got to say I love the idea. I think it's definitely going to be huge in that niche market of finding those developing artists. My question is, I guess, we live in Florida. How would you establish those relationships with those other developing artists that would want to kind of promote their music onto Songrize across the nation?
Are you asking more, are we going to focus kind of mostly on artists that we find who are kind of close to Florida where we can have a personal face-to-face relationship with them type thing?
Yes. Well, if you had other relationships across the nation, I guess, how would you go about in seeking out those relationships with the up-and-coming artists?
So I'm on a learning curve there. I would definitely use or partner with that company I mentioned earlier that's very experienced in that realm. We also have some potential investors in mind in the area that also know a lot about that. So pretty much rely on them for that. But I think to answer your question, does the whole global, how far they are distance-wise matter? Of course it does. You can't replace a face-to-face relationship with over the internet. But I will say a lot of times I find artists who are from Norway or from the Netherlands, and when I email them and stuff and find them on Facebook, they're very responsive. And obviously that doesn't matter the geographical distance in terms of just communicating via Skype or technology or whatever. So.
All right, I've got a couple algorithm questions, sort of follow up on the age thing. My assumption is algorithm is age independent, genre independent. It's your target markets that you would market towards would be a second phase. So to the extent people, old folks like me, started using it, it would be applicable, useful, work just fine. It's just you wouldn't be targeting that initially. That's
correct. Yes, the algorithm does not matter what age you are. Genre specific, there are some genres where it works a little bit better. I would say electronic music is the best one. I've tested that on myself and it works very well. Some of genres that have kind of less distinguishing features where you can't distinguish as much are a little bit harder to do, but I'm still confident that I can figure those out. And I've tested those also. They just don't work as well as electronic music does.
okay. And then a sort of follow-up, how close are you to a beta version that people could actually, because I think most people agree Pandora is not that great at picking your next song. How close would you have something that people could actually try?
Right, so the next step I really want to do, and again, if we had the capital to do it, what we have right now is a website, obviously the brand and the algorithm, which I developed on my computer, but the Songrize website was supposed to be a simple interface for people to log in and then go test those recommendations, and then also they could share it on the website. If you find a song that your son likes or something, you can send it to him, and then they would get that through the website. Obviously, I realize that is not ideal. Most people are using mobile phones now. They're not using desktops, but this was the less expensive route. Did I do that? I don't know what happened, but so yes, that would be the next step.
Okay, thanks.
On the funding side, Have you done anything in the area of crowdfunding, looking at that?
No, and the reason is I obviously understand the day we launch this, there are certain features that other companies could copy. That's why the patent is a hot topic. You know, do we have some kind of moat around this idea?
Mm-hmm.
So my strategy for not doing crowdfunding is that I don't really want. Now, obviously, it's out being streamed everywhere, but till this point, I didn't want to go, you know, put it on that type of website just to show everyone this kind of idea.
The reason I mention it, Kickstart has, you know, been able to raise a lot of money without even giving any equity away, and they usually as a premium. Well, you could ask for $20 and give a subscription, and you haven't sold any of your company, and I'm not an expert at this, but I've checked into it, and people are, you know, going out for $175,000 and getting $500,000, and it's almost a covert way of marketing. Okay.
Thank you. That's a good idea.
Is there any opportunity or incentive for Full Sail with their international presence to be involved in this project?
Well, we want to do a lot of events, more branding stuff later on to hopefully get on campus there and get in front of those students, because that is a big part of our target market. To partner with them, we haven't opened up that conversation yet. We've had some ideas that would possibly work. We haven't spoken with them about that yet. No.
Okay. Right here. When you hit upon the idea of hashtag running, hashtag my wedding, I'm sitting there going, hey, there's a way here for people possibly to be making money using your site because they can sell their playlist because they're a popular DJ, or Taylor Swift gets married and everyone wants to buy her playlist at her wedding reception. So if you can make it where it's something where people go, hey, they don't see this, but we can make money off of this. Now that goes viral.
I think that's spot on, because a lot of the music industry, especially like you said, DJs, electronic, there's kind of these exclusive live streams. A lot of time I even watch them on YouTube, live streams from halfway around the world. So that's something we've thought of. DJs can actually make some kind of exclusive hashtag playlist, you know, Ultra 2015 or whatever festival it is. And then, yes, exactly like that.
How will you how will you build your catalog of music?
Okay, so that's right. I don't need a slide. I built the database by hand, which has been very tedious, but it's possible. That's kind of the grunt work and nasty part of starting this. I built a database by hand. Where that database comes from is actually YouTube. Think about how you can subscribe to any artist you want, any channel you want. They send out emails. They also send out text messages, that sort of thing. So now I basically know who the artists are, what the songs are, and the minute they come out. So.
And then how do you pay artists?
Here's another. So I thought this would be the first question, but we're actually launching with YouTube, embedded YouTube, and the reason is we don't have to pay royalties. And I've consulted. Obviously, this is a big red flag. Are you going to get sued? And the answer is no. There are several apps out there that do this, and we've consulted with attorneys looking through their terms of use, and it's perfectly fine to use embedded YouTube as a music platform. It's just eventually, if you're going to make money, you have to partner with them or sell it to someone else. So.
Any other questions? One more?
So you you sort of like briefly mentioned, sort of going off, he's been asking about like rising artists, and you mentioned like getting to live shows. What does that look like?
Yeah, I envision some kind of interface for artists to kind of tell me what. I also think kick bands in town that already have that data. It would be a good kind of partnership there where they tell me who's in what town and when, and then I have the data of who the similar friends are through Songrize app, who are friends via Facebook, and who have the similar music taste and that kind of thing. So you pair the two together, and now you can send out natural, friendly push notifications for the week before a show or 2 weeks before a show or whatever. That's how I envision it.
Cool. One more question. I feel like whenever I see something like another sort of potential social network. I have like, I don't want to join more social networks. So how do you see that like interaction happening between people when you're on Songrize or you're on Facebook, or can you use it without having to use it only, or how does that look?
So I envision that as, again, just the music. This idea kind of spawned out of me and my friends always doing that, where we would create groups and put threads together where we're always sharing music. So that's really the main social aspect here, is people sharing music with each other. And then the question you just asked about going to live shows, getting people to then get together face-to-face and go to shows together. Other than that, yeah, we don't want to plan on any pesky, another annoying social media type thing, you know.
So I'm curious about the YouTube function of this. Does that mean music videos can be shared? Is that a part of it?
Yeah, that's also a pretty unique part of it. It's not really important at the start. Obviously, when you're listening to music, if you're at the gym, you're not going to be, lifting and watching videos. You'll put it in the background. So embedded YouTube lets you do that. But I have looked out 10, 20 years and thought, hey, this would be kind of cool where on a smart TV, you can generate a playlist via Songrize that now has video, and it can kind of play in the background at a party, or all types of, there could be some kind of unique way that YouTube could use that video playlist feature for something. So
it's the primary way I share new music with friends is through YouTube and old school email. So I could see this could potentially helping. I guess the next question to that would be, would live streaming then, let's say you're talking about those festivals like the Ultra Festival, that would be potentially accessible through Songrize, correct? And you'd be able to share that?
Yes.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, in the spirit of 1 million cups, what is it that we as a community can do for you right now? And also tell us what hashtags you want us to send out for you.
All right, you think of the hashtags. At this point, like I said at the beginning, we're just super excited to start talking about this. It's kind of, been behind closed doors. I'm sure my family's sick of hearing about it. So I think just getting feedback, I think we've gotten a lot of great feedback and advice on how to go from here. We're all about, as you can see, Songrize is about relationships. That's the type of person I am. That's the type of person Nick is. So we love to, get to know you and network and fill some gaps here on our team. It'd be great to, get someone to join as the CTO, someone in the music industry, and then go from there and invest and get this thing out to all you guys so we can all enjoy it. So
right now your leadership is the two of you?
Yes, and we have a couple other members, but it's us.
All right, so they need leaders, they obviously need money, and they need for you guys to all engage with them and see how you can help them take this to the next level.
And we'll both stick around afterwards, even after the next presentation. If you'd like to say hello, we'd be happy to meet you. So thank you.
All right, thank you. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. You're free to go get some coffee, but please bring it back into the room so that we can do our conversations in the room.
1 Million Cups is a weekly educational program developed by the Kauffman Foundation.
Over the years, we've added more cities. It creates a great energy here to see what's happening across the country.
What I've learned from other entrepreneurs is very, very valuable.
Sitting in a room with other people that have ideas too, it helps people to leave thinking, you know what, my idea is worth something. It's worth pursuing. It's worth going after it. Even if it looks like a challenge, I should still go out and try to do it.
All right, guys, so before we get into the second presentation, we have a little clip by the Kauffman Foundation that we want to show you, which is the organizing foundation for 1 Million Cups. So we'll get into that.
Wait.
Oh, technical difficulty.
Got it? Okay. Let me back it up.
From
All right, guys, here we
Albany to
are.
Albuquerque, Anchorage to Asheville, and Portland to Peoria. 377 1 Million Cups entrepreneurs from 58 communities entered the 1 in a Million Startup Business and Pitch Competition. We've narrowed the field, and now we're one step closer to 1 in a Million. Tune in on Wednesday, November 18th at 9 a.m. Central to see the top 5 startups take the stage for a first-of-its-kind event that will be streamed live to all 1 Million Cup sites. It's 1 in a Million, from coast to coast and everywhere in between.
So that's something to look forward to for next week. And we really want to encourage everybody to come and see who are the companies that are going to be pitching.
All right, so yeah, that's just a little bit about our competition we're doing. And we'd like to first shout out to our sponsors, including Torch Studios for streaming it to Canvas this week, Catalyst next week, and definitely Barney's Coffee for the free coffee we're all enjoying. And then our organizers as well, myself, Chad, and Isabella, and then for the rest of the staff that's not here right now. And we'd like to get into the second presentation, which is Irblich Schools. We're going to have Brigitte come up here and show her ideas.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you for having me here at 1 Million Cups today. I am Brigitte Jorgensen. I'm the founder and visionary of Irblich Schools. That's awesome. The police came to visit us today. We are located in Winter Springs. So I was born in Canada, and that's a picture of me on the bike there, kind of squinting. The sun is in my eyes. And that picture was taken on the first day of kindergarten. I'd never been to preschool. I'd never been to daycare or anything like that. So this was going to be my first introduction to the public school system. And for me, the troubles began starting in grade 1. So I was belittled, and I was humiliated, and I was threatened, and I was physically hit. And what makes this story even worse is that it was the teachers that did it. And they did it in the classroom in front of the other children. So the children saw it and thought it was fine to do. So then they would take it out onto the playground and it would continue. Needless to say, I hated school. So then I went to high school, obviously, and I did an internship at a preschool. And it was the most loving and caring and positive experience. So jump ahead. I went to college in Canada. I got an early childhood diploma with high honors, came to the States. That was transferred to an AA degree in early childhood education. And then I started working part-time as a substitute and experiencing a lot of different places. And I kept a notebook. And in this notebook, I wrote down the things that I liked, the things that I didn't like, and how things could be better. And 20 years later, that notebook, and by the way, a lot of personal development, Irblich Schools was created, and it was named after my parents. So what did I learn? Well, I learned that 90% of our brain is developed by the age of 5. So from 0 to 5, it needs a lot of support. And I've also read a lot of different studies about the air that we breathe and the food that we eat and the thoughts that we think during those formative years have a huge lasting impact on the rest of our lives here sitting as adults. So Brigitte, at Irblich Schools, myself, Brigitte, I decided to take this bet, and it's like flipping a coin. Now that you know this information, You can go on the healthy route. You can flip the coin and you get heads. You're at the front of the game. You're ahead of the pack. You're ahead of your peers. Or you can disregard everything I'm saying and you're at the back of the line and you can still catch up, but it's a lot more work. So we have taken that bet and we've put the environment and the food and the curriculum as a very important aspect into our school. So these problems that you see up here, they're not new problems. You already know this. We have an obesity epidemic with children. We have early diabetes. We have juvenile heart disease. We've got asthma. We've got allergies galore. All these things are happening. Plus, we still have racism issues. And we have an entire generation that has no clue how to communicate one another face-to-face in person. So how do we solve all these problems? It is so easy. It is so easy. You start with the food, because remember I told you that the brain develops 90% up to the age of 5. So during those formative years, it needs whole foods to support the brain. It needs fresh fruits. It needs fresh vegetables. It needs ancient grains and legumes. And then with cultures, there's so much we can learn from one another if we would just collaborate more and share. I think we keep forgetting that we all share one home. It's called planet Earth. And then we need to get outdoors more. Get out of the buildings. Get outside. And then when we're with our friends, bless you, when we're with our friends and being with them, we should be using our imagination, being creative. So Irblich Schools currently caters to ages 3 through 5. And we do yoga, we'll do Tai Chi, Qigong. I'm teaching breathing techniques. They're learning self-regulation skills. And then we involve them with the food. So when we have snack, we just don't bring them something. We bring up the whole pineapple and we cut it in front of them. They touch it, they feel it. What does it feel like? They're involved with it. They even help make lunches sometimes. And when they are working on doing something like art, for example, you can see that picture there, we don't interfere. We let them be. We let them explore, discover. Outside, we have a hydroponic garden, we have a dirt garden, and the children have grown food from seed all the way. They've gone through the whole process. They've harvested it, they've picked it, they've eaten it, they've helped cooked it, everything. And when we're outdoors, we bring our indoors outdoors. So we'll bring the blocks out, we'll bring the books out. That's the chalkboard you see there. We'll bring out the instruments. We don't have to be inside a building to learn. In fact, it's a lot better when we take everything outside and use all 5 of our senses. So the competition's pretty much what you'd expect. And if you take away the homeschooling community and just families in general, the institutions that are listed pretty much focus on academics. And I want you to think for just a minute as those academics being blocks, building blocks like bricks that you're going to build the walls of a structure. That structure needs a very strong foundation to support it. And that foundation, again, is where Irblich Schools makes that bet. The air that we breathe, the food that we eat, the thoughts that we think. And we integrate the academics into our foundation so it's a very strong base so that when everything else is built on top of it, it's going to support it. It's funny with statistics with this industry, you don't really need numbers for this industry because our population keeps growing and growing and growing. And unless we stop having babies or everyone decides to homeschool, there's always going to be a need for some sort of childcare somewhere. And what I really like about Irblich, so I created the word awareture, and that stands for awareness teacher. The benefits, as we mentioned, that's actually the inside of the school there. We are a green school, so there's no toxins, there's no chemicals. When you walk in, you don't get like hit by the smell of bleach. We do have 2 healthy snacks, so the food, the lunch, all of that. And it's individualized learning. That's the side where everybody's different. We all learn at different ways and different paces. So we individualize what we're doing with the children so that they can learn at their pace and not feel left behind or bored because they're far ahead. Flexible schedule, yeah, okay. And then my ask here today is, I've recently opened, I'm a few months in, maybe I think 9 now, and I really would like to gain more students and get the word out there. So if anything I've said here today resonates with you or you've got your own personal story that you can relate to like I did with my first teachers, I would like you to share this with others because I can guarantee you this school is very different. And we have a good referral program if you need an incentive. And that is my contact information. So if you need anything, you can just take a picture of that slide, and all of my contact information is there. And now I'm happy to open it up for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Hi, I enjoyed your presentation. From a business standpoint, it's clear you've put a lot of thought into this. So I'm curious what your plan is, if you have a plan to scale this and open other locations. I know you just got started with the first one, but down the road, do you plan to have a statewide or national chain of schools that teach in this way?
So what's interesting is when I started this school, my degree is in early childhood, so I started with ages 3 to 5. But what I have on paper goes from conception to high school. And so I do want to expand there. Plus, I want to take this model that I've created, and I'd like to franchise it. And just like Montessori, they're all over the world. I can see Irblich Schools being all over the world because the way that I've designed the school, it's not cookie cutter. So where you take it, it will evolve with where it's at. So yes, I do plan to expand quite a bit.
I have a two-part question. First part, how do you differentiate yourself with Montessori? Because some parts sound very similar. And then my second question, since it also covers such a large part of the day, how is it comparable with daycare options that parents already have? So just
okay. That is two very different questions. So for those that may be familiar with alternative education, Montessori is the most popular one people have heard of. What I have done is I've taken all of them. I've taken the Montessori, the Waldorf, the High Scope, the Reggio Emilias, the Froebels, all of the different ones that you may or may not know about. And I've taken bits and pieces from all of them, the parts that I like, plus added my own little bit, which is my side, and I've created something that's new. So I consider myself to be just like them. I'm like one more alternative that's offering something, but I have a little bit of everybody within it. The second question was, cost. Cost-wise? Okay, so we're comparative with everybody else that is of that high quality. The difference is that we're offering more, especially when it comes to the food, because the food is a little more expensive to eat well. So we're right up there in the same line. We just offer more. Any other questions?
So I know that your program, I've seen your school also, and I know you have a really nice layout in the building. What are some of the green initiatives that you're utilizing in your building?
So yes, we're quite green actually, because I got to build this from scratch. So it's a brand new facility, and we could take in consideration a lot of things, like even when you saw the picture, there's some interior walls. The insulation is made from sand, so it's called EcoBat, so things like that. The flooring, it's a bio-based floor with a bio-based adhesive, so there's no toxic off-gassing from that. The baseboards are rubber instead of vinyl. The paint is 0 VOC. The lighting is LED. We compost with the children. They'll drop something and they'll go, compost, so they know about that sort of stuff. So there's many reasons why we're green. They even have a daily use towel. So instead of constantly going through all kinds of paper towel, each child has one towel that's with their picture and name and designated for them, so that's their daily use. At the end of the day, that will get laundered and they get a new one for the day. So there's a lot of things that we do.
Over here, I'm a product, actually a child of a mom who ran a day school for 25, 26 years directly in this age group that you're talking about, and I watched her struggles as she built a successful program. It took a lot longer than people thought it was going to take. There were all sorts of issues that come along the way, including things like accreditation, which you have not mentioned up to this point in time. But I'm interested in knowing, since you identified the main issue or challenge that you wanted us to speak to, being finding students for your program, what are you doing in the meantime to help build the sustainability of the program itself? Because if you need students, it sounds like maybe there's a financial need too, until you can get to a point where you have scale. So have you thought about after-school programs, for example, or other ways of adapting the referral incentive that you have to perhaps partnering with other schools that exist today? I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but I didn't hear that in your presentation today, and I suspect that's kind of at the root of what some of your challenges are getting to scale at this point.
Well, it's interesting. I have found that I have not done a very good job, I think, with my marketing. I don't think I've gotten my name out there enough, and so I was using this as an opportunity to kind of share that I exist. The parents that come to tour, they'll be like, "Oh, I didn't even know this was here." So that I'm having the trouble just getting the word out. So I do want to mention that. You said something else that was really important that I want to mention. David, do you have anything you want to add to this question?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is that the children that are at school do have a unique experience in my way. I mean, I also had a miserable school childhood back in England, so I really resonate with sort of the nurturing environment that Birgitta has created at the school. But I think that the big challenge is, when parents come to actually visit the premises, and I would urge anybody to actually go along and see how different it actually is. It's quite difficult to communicate to people outside how different it actually is until you actually see it and until you can, sort of meet the children there and speak to Birgitta about it. So I think it's a really unique experience as a school, and certainly if my grandchildren, I've got 2 grandchildren in that age group, trouble is they're both in England, so they can't very well come to this school, but I would certainly send them here if I could. It's a wonderful, nurturing environment.
Did that answer your question? I'm sorry, because you said a lot. Did I? Oh, accreditation. It takes 2 years before I'm allowed to apply, so I can't even try yet.
Being that this concept is different, where are you finding your teachers from, and what kind of training are they going through?
So it's interesting. The training I'm providing, because it is different, and they're finding me. So the teachers that I have found that I've interviewed a few people. There's only 2 I've hired. One I showed because she's currently working while I'm here. The other one is not working yet. But there's a lot to do with personality. Because of this school, it's not so much just their academic background, but what their personality is. Because, again, with my experience, the teachers that taught me, I'm sure, were qualified, but I'm sorry, they were mean. And that's just not going to work. And that really affected me for like years and years and years. That was that personal development I had to go through to get past it and to open a school. So, yeah, it's not just academics for background, it's personality.
I'm just wondering, you said you were trying to expand. How are you currently marketing? What's your current market approach?
So right now I'm in a few magazines. I'm in Natural Awakenings magazine. I'm in Playground magazine. I'm active on Facebook. I get a feed to Twitter anyways because it's automatic. I do a few videos. So I've got a few YouTube videos of the kids like making dehydrated apples or whatever. Like, it's all make things at the school so they can see what we do. So that's what I mean. Like I don't have a lot. I mean, for those that are here today, if you're interested, I have a coloring book and crayons for you, and that's my marketing. But we all should color because it's good for our brains. So I'm working on it. I'm open to suggestions and help.
Okay. What's coming to mind for me is there's somebody that I counseled, Dr. Dahan Sharif. He has a school over in Sierra Leone, and he had the opportunity to go speak with the president of the country, and so he was told to call me, what should I go in and say, et cetera, et cetera. It ended up evolving into one heck of a relationship where he was given a 200,000 square foot facility. Here was the problem: overhead, just for the power, right? So out of this, he calls me up one time and he says, Don, I've got right now 25 paying students. I need about 40. Said, well, give away the other 15. You already have in class anyways. Whatever you want in the future, give it away now. So he did. A year later, we're talking. He's going, my overhead has really jumped. Right now, Don, I've got 43 students. So he already got his 40 paying students. I really need to be at about 80. I said, well, it worked last time. Why don't we try it again? The following year, he had 95 paying students. But now to finish off 5% of this building that was unfinished, he needed to start raising money. I said, well, I'd give away 95 tuition scholarships. And he's now up at 300 students. So I'm just planting a seed with you. It's sowing and reaping is the principle. Well, whatever you need, give it away. If you have the space, you have the time. It's just like selling radio. That minute goes by. If you didn't sell that minute, you lost it. So you've got something there that you could be right now sowing into your own future, not just the kids.
And I just want to share one thing, too, when you mentioned about a building. One thing I didn't say in my presentation is I do have a completely sustainable school designed. It was back in 2011. I had an architect, a lead architect, do it. So it's really cool because it doesn't take a lot of overhead, and all the food is there, all the electricity is collected. So it's a really beautiful building made out of storage containers. It's gorgeous. So someday I'll be there, too.
You know, have you thought anything about using grandparents? You mentioned he was a grandparent. I'm a grandparent, and just recently a great-grandparent.
Congratulations.
And I know I would be glad to give scholarships to any of my grandchildren, especially knowing that first 5 years is so important. And the parents would be glad to do it, but sometimes they just don't have the money. And so putting a stamp on a little 3-year-old that might remember me is really important, I think. And I would market, don't just do the children's playground magazines, do the retired the grandparent magazines or whatever.
And I agree with you because students that I have in the school are being paid for currently by the grandparents because the grandparents are saying no, and they just won't go anywhere else. So it's kind of cool.
So we have time for one more question. Okay, so I know you spoke earlier as to what it is that we could do, and that was some really great suggestions and feedback in here, so thank you very much. But other than the shout-outs, what else can we do for you?
I mean, really, spread the word. That would be so. It would mean so much to me, especially on Facebook and all of that. Just start spreading it because I have found people have found me on Facebook because someone else shared it with someone else, and I'm quite fascinated how this all works. So yeah, please just share. I mean, there's information on the website too, but yeah. The referral program's great. You can earn up to a $100 gift card to anywhere you want. So for each qualified, student. So. Thank you again.
Okay. Thank you so much. So again, we want to thank everybody for being here. Thanks again to Barney's for our coffee, to Rollins for our space, for all of you for coming out. And then please stay after. Go ahead and enjoy the coffee and network with our entrepreneurs that are here in the space today. Thank you.